Welcome back to our service. Michael J. Fox kept something from everyone for 7 years. His body was fighting a war that no one could see while he won awards and made people laugh. Security cams caught him at the U.S. accessible in a wheelchair. Later, he got up. What happened next made a lot of people cry. His wife Tracy just recently told him what the winter does to him. And the truth about why he secretly adopted his youngest daughter finally came out. Don't think this is only about Parkinson's. His secret has been kept from her since the night his son was born. Mike Fox was born in Edmonton, Alberta, on June 9, 1961. In a house with 5 kids, the funeral began at 5:30 and hospital corners had to be put in the beds. He was the 4th child to die. As a sergeant in the Canadian Armed Forces, William's pay was only $12,000. It made $180 a week for his mom, Phyllis, to work as a payroll clerk and act in local plays sometimes to keep her artistic side alive. That bothered William. He said it wasn't worth the time to act. But Michael quietly learned comedy routines from TV with Phyllis's help. Some families were eating hot meals, but they ate canned beans 3 times a week in most cases. It made Michael want something bigger after that fight. Having rules and limits was not what he wanted. He wanted to leave. He had moved 14 times with his family before he turned 12. They've only lived in one place for 22 months, in Chilliwack, changing schools, making new friends, and learning a new language every few months. It was easy for Michael to do that. He'd listen to how people talked for 48 hours after each move and then perfectly match it. So he wouldn't stand out. When they were sent to Newfoundland in 1971, he was picked on a lot because he had an Alberta accent, so he changed it very quickly. According to Michael's sister Kelly, he kept a diary with more than 200 entries that were all notes about the people he had to leave behind. The family had to deal with more stress because each move cost around $3,000. While things were always changing, Michael learned something very special. He was always able to change into anyone. His training helped him get parts before he knew he wanted to be an actress. He was only 4 feet 2 inches tall when he was 10. There was a problem with that in Burnaby. People on his youth hockey teams kicked him off because they thought he was too small to handle body checks. He was completely crushed. He found the school's theater club, though. His teacher, Mr. McRae, made him do a strange test. It was like he had to act like he was in a dog food commercial, with voiceovers. Nothing was known about Michael's months of practice spent alone in front of a broken mirror. He did it perfectly with 3 voices. He hid the $25 he got for going to the school play in a coffee can under his bed. Through 2 years of moving around with his family, he never missed a practice. A person's size didn't matter when they were acting. As a result, he put all of his effort into it. Around 15, a big event took place. He got a part on Sally and Me, a CBC show. 87 other kids tried out, and the process took 6 months. Michael talked about a lost dog in a one-man show, but it was real. The pain of losing a dog during one of his military moves inspired the story. There was no one in his family who made more money than him. Each show paid him $1,500. Someone bought him a Gibson guitar for $400, not knowing how to play it. Keeping himself locked in his room, he practiced for 4 hours every day for several months. The show had 26 episodes and made him about $39,000. Before Michael paid $800 for his sister's braces, his dad still thought acting was just pretend. That altered everything. As a 17-year-old, he quit Burnaby Central High School in 1978. Purchased a bus ticket to Los Angeles one way, $77. His food budget was $13. His money ran out somewhere in Oregon, so he hitched the rest of the way. Within 72 hours, he slept in a truck stop bathroom one night. He worked 50-hour weeks as a dishwasher in Los Angeles and slept on friends' houses during the weekends. It made his dad so mad that he didn't talk to him for 8 months. For survival, Michael ate peanut butter and rolls from the diner. He tried out for 47 roles before getting even one small one. But every turn down made him want more. It turned out that Michael Fox was already taken when he tried to join the Screen Actors Guild in 1979. I liked the sound of Michael A. Fox better than his middle name, Andrew. It bothered him that the A sounded like an A, especially since he sounds Canadian. The actor Michael J. Pollard came to mind, and he took the J, even though it didn't mean anything. That one little change changed everything about his Hollywood image. In 1980, he had a superb chance. In Palmerstown, USA, Norman Lear and Alex Haley cast him as Willie Joe Hall, the older brother in a white family during the Great Depression. It talked about important issues like race and class. Fox got his first taste of how Hollywood worked with these 17 shows. He had to act with moral weight in scenes about friends of different races. It finished quickly, but he learned how unpredictable TV could be from it. Then, between 1980 and 1981, he got guest parts that helped build his early reputation. On the show Trapper John, MD, he played a kid who had seizures. In Family, he played a boy who liked an older woman. These parts were important, but they gave him a name he didn't want. He was called the sensitive short guy by casting agents. It would stay on for a while, but something unexpected happened with one of those family parts. The makers were blown away by the scene he made up on the spot. Simply capturing that moment was the start of something much bigger. His first movie was a Disney comedy called Midnight Madness, which came out in 1981. It turned out badly. The movie received poor reviews. It got bad reviews. Ended up owing $5,000. He had to give up his car and move into a very small, $200 a month room that was barely big enough to live in. He almost always ate at McDonald's. He wrote his family letters at night, but never sent them. He practically wanted to give up and go back to Canada. That's not what he did because right then, another chance came along. When Family Ties was being cast in 1982, it was on NBC. They first tried to get Matthew Broderick, but he said no. Author Gary David Goldberg didn't like Michael's test and said he didn't fit. He got another chance, though, because the casting director worked hard to get it. His performance was perfect this time. Even then, Brandon Tartikoff at NBC wanted him to leave. "Get rid of the kid," he told Goldberg. "That lid doesn't have that face on it." Responding, Goldberg asked, "Tell him 3 jokes. You can laugh 5 times at him." Fox remained. After a few years, he mailed Tartikoff a handmade lunchbox and said, "This is for you to put your crow in." Not everything was great behind the scenes. During the first season in 1983, Fox was drinking a lot. He was only 21, but he was already late and not ready. On the show, Meredith Baxter played his mom, and she quietly set up an intervention. It was never told to NBC. Fox said in retrospect that he didn't stop drinking until 1989, exactly the same year the show finished. In that year, things in his real life began to get better again. Their first Emmy was for the 1986 show The Real Thing. Although the award almost cost the director his job, Fox didn't follow the script during a big scene and went on a 3-minute political rant. The time was off, so changes had to be made at the last minute. The company was very angry, but the people who saw it loved it. That one-liner won him the Emmy, and the director, keeping his job. During the 1984 Writers Guild strike, Fox did something odd. He went over the picket line to film a show by himself. He got an extra $25,000 in pay. The writers were mad. Few people showed up to the party to end the season. Others stopped writing his characters' lines of speech. Unfortunately, Fox had to go to work. The show had moved up from number 56 to number 5 at that point. Scores across the country. Neither of them were going to stop. This happened on the January 1984 show called Birthday Boy. Fox accidentally breathed in real ash instead of fake ash during a scene where Alex smokes a cigar. Even though he threw up away from the camera and filming had to stop for 2 hours, he insisted on finishing the show. At 1:30 in the morning, when it was over, the crowd gave him a standing ovation. It was the best year for the show in 1987. Every week, reaching more than 32.7 million people. On the other hand, Fox and Justine Bateman were fighting behind the scenes. She thought he was taking scenes by talking too long in his monologues. People said she might quit, but it wasn't true. Basically, it was about contracts. Tension was still there. Fox was having a huge success with his movies, and the show's balance had changed when they began filming Back to the Future on November 26, 1984. Eric Stoltz was extremely good at playing Marty McFly. Michael J. Fox was their first choice, but he had to work on Family Ties and couldn't do it. So Stoltz was selected by the studio. I waited 5 weeks. I felt like something wasn't right after filming about 70% of the scenes. Not many people got the jokes. According to director Robert Zemeckis, the tone wasn't right. The serious style of Stoltz wasn't going with the fun vibe they were going for. Nothing happened anymore. This happened on January 10, 1985. It looks like Fox came in without reading the plot. This meant filming most of the movie again, which cost about $4 million and was wasted. It was their only option. The movie wouldn't come out for months. Having Fox there didn't make things better. His plans with family didn't change. This meant that he didn't get much sleep for 3.5 months. Beginning at 10 a.m., he filmed the show from noon to 6 o'clock. Later, from 6:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m., he was on the Back to the Future set. Things got worse every Friday. Starting at noon, he would practice Family Ties, record 2 live shows, and then work on the movie all night until dawn. He barely slept in the van between sets and lived off coffee. He was so worn out that he forgot who he was playing sometimes. It's been years. For the Back to the Future Part 3 hanging scene, Fox made a brave choice. He suggested not using the support box for the close-up shot of him hanging so that it would look more real. He protected himself by putting his hand on the rope around his neck. Sadly, he missed the 3rd time. Without the rope, his brain would not have gotten any blood. He passed out and just stood there. When director Zemeckis saw that Fox wasn't moving at all, the team thought he was acting. Are they rushing in? On that day, they stopped making things. In 1988 and 1989, when Back to the Future Part 2 was being shot, something else had already begun. Fox discovered that he couldn't skateboard as well as he used to. His hands shuddered. He first didn't believe it. Likewise, the team. Some people thought it was part of his act. In the end, he was playing older forms of Marty. Although small, these changes showed early signs of Parkinson's disease. Fox wouldn't be found to have cancer until 1991, while they were making Doc Hollywood. Later, he said that he wore gloves on set to hide the fact that his hands were shaking. Not only did he act like he was getting older, but his body was also quietly telling him something else. Other odd things happened that didn't make sense at first, but did later. As Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd was almost 6 feet 1 inch, and Fox was just under 5 feet 5 inches. Lloyd had to hunch over all the time so that they would look more natural together. Doc's famous look included this small trick. Lloyd would often play jokes on Fox on set, and he even hid the DeLorean keys one time. The joke kept them from shooting for more than 2 hours and almost cost them $50,000 in extra time. 1985 was not only about going back in time. Teen Wolf was being filmed by Fox as well. Only 21 days were needed to make the movie. Each day began at 3 a.m. Since making up the monster took more than 4 hours. Yellow glasses, thick prosthetics, and clothes that itch. While shooting, he'd scream, not putting the suit back on. Even so, he kept coming back every day. He surfed on top of a car in one dangerous scene. They got an action double because they were afraid the Fox, who hadn't slept in a while, would fall. Fox's shoes in 1987's The Secret of My Success had real burn marks on them. He'd save time by lighting cigarettes on them between takes. Family Ties was still being filmed, and he had to start light of day. Fox then learned to play the guitar from scratch, letting his fingers bleed because he insisted on doing all the solos himself. He even wrote and sang his own song for the movie, even though he thought his voice would be replaced by someone like James Taylor. It wasn't. That same year, Fox took a darker turn in the bright lights of the city. He was drinking a lot in real life, and it started to show in his acting during one shoot. He couldn't get his lines right after 20 takes. What they used to look like cocaine on set was actually milk sugar. Fox, though, said that the scenes seemed too real. Later, he said it was art that copied my wild life. Due to a strike, the story had to be rewritten in 7 days, which wasn't ideal. Fox got a small speech part in the Dutch thriller The Vanishing later in 1988, but he wanted more work. The producers let it go. They were upset. He couldn't be a part of the 1993 American reboot. The wording was clear. They did not want hard-to-please stars. It was a bad choice. He could have played for a big team. After that, there were war deaths in 1989. Fox gained 10 pounds to get bigger for the part of an American soldier. The parts he had with Sean Penn were very serious. Even when he wasn't on camera, Penn stuck true to his role as a violent sergeant. He didn't want to talk to Fox, told everyone else not to do it either. At one point, things got so bad that they started fighting, and the shooting had to stop. Because of this, the director had to separate them for the rest of the shoot. Fox woke up one morning while shooting Doc Hollywood in 1991 to find his pinky finger moving. It started out as shakes from partying with Woody Harrelson, but they got worse. This guy's left hand was shaking nonstop. When he found out, he was only 29 years old. Nevertheless, he kept it a secret. The shaking, he'd explain, was because his character was tired from a crash while he was acting. There was no playing. Nobody believed it was real. On purpose, He teamed up with James Woods in 1991. Woods kept going off script, which surprised Fox a lot of the time. Fox's pants were down one day while they were filming. It ended up on the blooper reel. Some critics said they looked like Dirty Harry and Bugs Bunny stuck together. He was followed by Greedy. In the year 1994, he said that his character's greed came from real events. When Family Ties did well, he worked hard to get paid more. Fox's acting seemed too real to co-star Kirk Douglas, who thought it was even painful. Even so, the movie did well. It was only second to Ace Ventura in the box office. It wasn't easy for him to switch from comedy to drama. There were $22 million spent on casualties of war, but only $18 million earned. People weren't ready to see him in darker parts, but critics knew he could do a lot of different things. He was more than just the kid from Back to the Future. Even as the disease changed his life, he kept taking on harder parts. For the first time in 1999, Stuart Little was a test. He spoke for the mouse, but it was hard for him to do so because of his shaking. Instead of the normal 20 or 30 takes, he recorded over 200. He scheduled every lesson around taking his medicine, when it will have the most impact. Each day, his voice would get weaker near the end. The team believed it was perfectionism. A few years before, in 1996, The Frighteners were an odd case of real life influencing art. The camera shots in Fox's Tremors had a strange energy to them. It was leaned into by director Peter Jackson. One scene has Fox holding ghost hunting gear, and his hand is shaking. Although not written in the script, it did work. That same year, Mars Comes After Us. To see him die so young, it wasn't just for fun. Disney and Tim Burton both agreed that it would help hide his symptoms. Fox's shaking made things even scarier in one scene where his character turned into green goo. Only 2 takes were needed to make it. Fox later asked for a scene where the ghost comes back to life, but viewers found it confusing, so it was cut from the final version. In 2001, there were more problems with Atlantis, the Lost Empire. He spoke more slurredly because of his medicine, and the sound engineers at Disney thought it was just the accent of his character. They stopped making things for 3 weeks. Fox even took less medicine while recording to keep from slurring his words, and more medicine later to stop the shaking. The movie came out on time and earned $500,000 for Parkinson's research, but Disney never said anything about it. Another one of Fox's most honest efforts was in Interstate 60 in 2002. He screamed into a phone like a mad businessman. He did start talking about the meaning of life in the middle of the scene, though the script did not include that. The director saw that Fox was using his own writings when he talked about how empty fame was and how the world had changed since he was diagnosed. Shortly after that scene, which lasted only 4 minutes, the movie became very dramatic. Nobody who saw those words thought they were real. As soon as Michael J. Fox started playing him on Spin City in 1996. Even though he didn't show it, he had Parkinson's disease and had been living with it for 5 years. The news came to him when he was only 29 years old, in 1991. His actors didn't know that he didn't want them to know. He instead took his medicine at just the right time to hide his symptoms, and he became what he once called a master at controlling the use of drugs. Each shoot needed a lot of energy, control, and time that was just right. People didn't see how hard he worked just to look steady. Movement, where he stood, and when he walked all affected his tremors. His acting was smart and funny. He was tired off-screen. Even so, he won 3 Golden Globes for that role between 1996 and 2000. He was fighting an unseen war with his body at the same time. Something much worse was going on behind the scenes while all of that was going on. Tina Marie Ledbetter, a woman from Camarillo, California, became crazy about him. She sent him almost 6,000 letters in 1 year, even though she was only 26 years old and worked as a mail clerk. Daily, that's 15 letters. Most of them were screaming and angry, written with lots of capital letters and exclamation points. She sent him mail with boxes full of rabbit poop in them. As soon as Fox married Tracy Pollan, her obsession became dangerous. She was mad that he picked Tracy over Nancy McKeon, who he had dated before. They called the FBI. They kept track of the packages and picked her up. To make things safer on set, Fox had to hire protection. Her real name wouldn't let her travel. He said his whole life changed afterward. 7 years after being told, in 1998, Fox finally chose to tell everyone. That was the start of the 4th season of Spin City. His character's story started to mirror his own. There were even hints of bigger fights in some episodes, like when Mike Flaherty considered running for mayor. In the background, though, things were getting worse. He began to have dyskinesias, which are sudden, uncontrolled movements. He was shaking and swaying, and he was tired. But he kept on playing. Along with Charlie Sheen, the production moved from New York to Los Angeles to get ready for Fox's departure. Later, Fox said that he thought his face was getting harder, which made it hard for him to show how he really felt, which is important for every character. Afterward, he knew he needed to leave. His most recent show ran in May 2000. The name of it was Part 2. Additionally, it was the 100th episode of the show. The character in Fox was fired because they were to blame for a political incident. The fact that Fox wrote most of the goodbye speech himself made it more powerful. Beyond the lines, the word Parkinson's was always there. People in the crowd cried. The actors did cry. People at home who watched cried. That show was the most popular ever. It put an end to things without feeling like the end. One of the most emotional scenes ever made for TV was his last scene with the cast in a bar. Fox did not go away after he left. His first role was as a drug user named Dwight on FX's Rescue Me in 2009. Intense and true, and reviewers really liked it. They were even nominated for an Emmy. Some people didn't know that Fox had his own problems with drugs many years ago. He drank a lot after being told he had cancer in 1991. He acknowledged having drunk 4 glasses of wine and possibly a shot. Everything fell apart on the night his son Sam was born in 1989. Fox lost consciousness in the hospital waiting room. Tracy gave birth by herself. He was horrified when he woke up and realized what had happened. It was the same day that he went to his first AA meeting. In 1992, he stopped drinking. He said seeing Tracy's face and hearing her ask, "Is this what you want?" was the moment he changed his mind. Those few seconds saved him. His relationship with Tracy began on the set of Family Ties in 1985. They didn't meet until 1987, when Bright Lights, Big City was being filmed. The date was December 26, 1987. It happened in Vermont on July 16th. In 1988, while the wedding was meant to be private, paparazzi helicopters flew over and made it less peaceful. It was what he called a security show. And Ledbetter, the stalker, kept sending those scary letters that same year. Tracy had to make up names to stay safe. Their household got bigger very quickly. Travis had several miscarriages after Sam was born on May 31, 1989, before they tried IVF. 2 girls, Aquina and Skylar, were born to them on February 15, 1995. Then again, Fox was filming The President of the United States with Michael Douglas at the same time. He worked 18-hour days, hid the fact that he had Parkinson's, worried about Tracy, and passed out on set. Although doctors told him not to, he kept going because he was determined not to tell anyone. He finally had to stop because his body told him to. The family then had a girl named Esme in 2001. She was taken in from a shelter in New York and adopted in secret. There was nothing in the news. To visit her without being seen, Fox would put on a delivery outfit. False names and backdoors were used. It was kept secret for more than 20 years. Fox finally admitted in 2023 that having Esme with him gave him strength when he was losing it over his Parkinson's. Even though he had Parkinson's, she gave him a reason to keep going. Fox was diagnosed with cancer in 1991, the same year that he also got a tumor in his spine. It had nothing to do with Parkinson's, but it almost made him unable to move. He was asleep on the kitchen floor one day, and Tracy found his left side frozen. Despite the dangers, he had the surgery. After that, he had to learn how to walk with a cane all over again. He kept it from everyone else anyway. His goal was to keep Hollywood from seeing him as weak. He put on a smile, did something, and kept going. 1997 was the first year that the truth about his illness was released. He was worn out from hiding it by that time. He'd been drinking, using weighted tools at dinner, and planning every move on set for years. While he was talking, everything changed. His company began in the year 2000. Got more than $2 billion for studies, higher than any other non-government source. In 2023, the biggest step forward in the history of Parkinson's happened. A biological marker that can find the illness 20 years before it shows any signs. It is 90% correct. From 2024 on, trials started. Scientists said it was a big deal. Over 3,000 projects in 35 countries were funded by his charity. He gave $50 million himself. spending his own cash to make it happen. He was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2025. That is the United States' highest citizen award. A joke he told during his speech was, "I'm not afraid of dying. From 1976 to now, I've been training with bad reviews." Behind the fun, though, he said he was scared. He was scared that he wouldn't make it to 80. He was most hurt in the winter. His wife Tracy said that he spoke less than he did during those times. People all over the world watched every time he stood up again. What will happen in the US? When the doors opened, he was in a wheelchair. His family helped him stand up. It only took hours for that video to get over 1 million views. He stood again at the BAFTAs that same year, shaking and moving slowly but persistent. People stood up and cheered for him for 3 minutes before he even spoke. Millions of people were moved to tears by his 90-second speech. In just 1 week, 3 countries raised their spending for Parkinson's by 40%. The term MJFF Fox Strong went crazy on the internet.